Have you ever heard of drama in politics, especially African politics? Well, stay tuned and watch this. Hello, ladies and gents, welcome. So, yesterday, April 20th, the now late president of Chad, Idris Deby, was declared dead by the army of Chad. It was declared that he succumbed to his injuries sustained while at the war front leading military operations against militant forces. And this declaration comes one day after having been declared the winner of the presidential elections they just had, which secured him his sixth term in office. It must be remembered that Idris Deby has been in power for 30 years, the position he acquired through a military coup in 1990. He overthrew the president that was there at the time. So from 1990 until yesterday, Idris Deby has been leading Chad. Now, if somebody has been in power for 30 years, you know a lot has been happening, especially for the opposition side. It's usually not sweet. Yeah, for somebody to stay in power for 30 years, you know a lot of people have suffered. Because 30 years is really, really long time. Now, Idris Deby can be remembered by some as somebody who fought extremely hard against militant forces. He can be remembered by some as somebody who fought extremely hard to restore peace in his country, while others would criticize him and his administration for shutting down his critics, corruption, for instance.
His administration was criticized for corruption, misuse of natural resources, and brutally repressing individual freedoms.
At home, politically, and also amongst the people, he was not a loved president. 30 years odd in power, accused of corruption, also accused of clamping down on the opposition parties ahead of this most recent election, as well as others.
Nevertheless, in his latter years as Chad's leader, President Idris Deby Itno was internationally lauded for building a formidable army known as one of the most capable in Africa, indispensable in the fight against terrorism, confronting even Al-Qaeda and Boko Haram. Throughout his presidency,
but within the US and particularly France, he was seen as a steady ally in the fight against terror, Islamic insurgency in the Sahel and in the Lake Chad region.
Yeah. I mean, it's usually common when somebody has been in power for that long, they don't give freedom to their opponents. They don't give freedom of speech to everyone. It's usually personal attacks to opposition candidates. It's usually personal attacks to their critics, and just to shut down everyone so that they feel like that's the only way they can live in peace, which never happens, because someone always comes up. You can kill as much as you want, but people always come up. And this should be a lesson. And this is nothing about enjoying somebody's death, but it should be a lesson, but unfortunately has never been a lesson for a lot of people. It should be a lesson that regardless of how many people you kill while in office, to make yourself comfortable there, know that your day is coming too. Know that you're gonna die regardless of how much money you acquire, regardless of how many years you stay in power, regardless of how many people you kill, to be comfortable in that seat. Your day is coming to die. And what happens when you pass away? And all those presidents that feel like they have to be in power forever to develop their country, they have to know that regardless of how long they stay in power, they're going to die somehow. So the best thing to do is not for you to stay in power forever, but at least to make those institutions stronger, try and make every institution in the country stronger, so that even after you go, the country can still stand and go forward. But a lot of them pretend to be the best person in the country to lead, because for 30 years, to be in power for 30 years is a long period of time. Now, here is where the drama comes in. The president of Chad just died. Now, according to their constitution, let me read their constitution actually. I'm going to read the 82nd article of the Chadian constitution. And then you see what's happening, the drama that's happening in Chad. Here's what it says. Article 82nd of the Chadian constitution. It says, In the event of the vacancy of the President of the Republic for any reason whatsoever, or of definitive impediment declared by the Supreme Court, seized by the government and ruling by an absolute majority of its members, the powers of the President of the Republic, with the exception of the powers provided for in Article 85, 88, 90, 94, are provisionally exercised by the President of the National Assembly, and in the event of his impediment, by his first Vice President. In all cases, new presidential elections are held 45 days at least and 90 days at most after the opening of the vacancy. But, you see, their constitution clearly stipulates that when the president dies, or when there's definitive impediment of the president, the person has to take over is the President of the National Assembly to organize elections from 45 to 90 days from the day the president became unable to rule the country. But see what they did in Chad.
The Transitional Military Council assured the Chadian people that all provisions have been taken to assure the peace, the security of the Republic and order. Long live the Republic, long live Chad. The President of the Transitional Military Council General will be Mohammed Idris Deby.
So his son will take power. They said there will be 18 months of transition.
You see, the son of the president is going to rule. Now, so I don't know based on what the son of the president is taking over. See, so these people have simply and literally put the constitution aside and set their own rules. You see, by what means, you see, by which mechanism did the son of the president, Mohammed Deby, is gonna rule the country? And they said 18 months. You see, first of all, the transition period here is said to be 45 days, but the military committee that's gonna lead the country throughout the transition period said it's gonna take 18 months. Well, their constitution says 45 days, and it says the president of the National Assembly has to take over, but the military have said the son of the president will take over. Who is not the president of the National Assembly, by the way? He's not the president of the National Assembly. He is, I believe, the second personality after the president. You know what is funny? It's funny that people can simply put the constitution aside and set their own rules. Right? Is that just funny? Isn't that funny that a group of people can just decide to put the whole constitution of a country aside and set their own rules? Huh? So the son has already dismissed the government and dissolved the National Assembly. Now, those terms are usually just to be courteous, yeah, just to be respectful to the members of the government and the members of the parliament, of the National Assembly. In reality, it's just firing those people. So every member of the government has been fired, and every member of the parliament, every member of the National Assembly has been fired. So, which means the military committee that's going to lead the country throughout this transition period is going to lead the country without a government and without the National Assembly, unless they're going to set up a new government. And all that stuff are not written in the Constitution. And one other thing I have to mention, Idris Deby has been in power for 30 years. He just got re-elected for his 6th term, but their constitution in the 66th article stipulates that the term of the president is 6 years and renewable only once. Now, renewable only once, but the man has been in power for 30 years. So it's clear that the man has not set a good example. You see what I was saying? That people forget. They try to be in power forever. They think they're going to make things better that way. But the best thing is to set a good example and make your constitutions, your institutions, I want to say, stronger, so that even after you leave, the country can be stable, you know, can function stably. Now, it's not only the measures set by the constitution, by the Chadian constitution, on who's supposed to take over that have been broken or violated by this military council that's going to lead the country into the throughout this transition period, but even the action they just took to dissolve the parliament, the National Assembly, and dismiss the government, they've broken the constitution. Because here's what their 66th article of their constitution says. It says, here's what it stipulates. The president of the National Assembly, so as an acting president, which is what his son is doing now, right? He's the acting president. It says, the president of the National Assembly, acting as president of the republic, may not dismiss the government, revise the constitution, or dissolve the National Assembly. This is what the son has done. He just dismissed the government and dissolved the National Assembly. He's fired everyone. So this military council that's going to lead the country through this transition period, they're going to lead the country for 18 months without a government, unless they set up a new government, without a government and without the National Assembly. Which means there will be no institution to control what they'll be doing. Now I even wonder if in 18 months they're going to organize free and fair elections. It's probably going to be hard for this council or for the military to turn the power to a democratically elected government or regime. It's going to be hard now, I feel like, because these people haven't started good. You know, wonders shall never end. Wonders shall never end. This is really surprising. It's true, the constitution is just a piece of paper if it's not respected. Huh? It's just unbelievable that a group of people can just decide and say, no, we're not going to follow the constitution. Put the constitution aside. You will become the president. Or I don't know if it's just the son who decided to say, no, let's put the constitution aside. I'm the president. Now, there have been rumors that maybe the man, the Chadian president Idris Deby, has been killed by his own man. Some people think that. While others think maybe his son did it. Because then you wonder, why would his son do that when he knows his dad was getting old? He died at the age of 68. He probably would have waited for him to die naturally for him to take over. I don't know. I don't know. Because the president has died and then the son has taken over. They've refused to follow the constitution. So, you know, you wonder why? Well, they don't want to follow the constitution. Oh, Africa has a long way to go when it comes to development. Development doesn't come with only one man. It's a very big mistake, because when one man stays in power forever, even if he brings certain type of development, when he leaves, what happens? Maybe the person that comes after him will also want to be there forever. And if it's not somebody who's going to bring development, then the country will suffer. So that's why I would think the best thing to do is to make sure your institutions are strong, so that even after you go, even after you die, because you're not going to live forever, even after you die, you've left behind a strong structure that's going to maintain certain type of stability in the country. May the soul of Idris Deby rest in peace. I hope the Chadian people will be in peace with the new government or the new regime, I should say. Now, even this Idris Deby's son, I think he has to be careful now. The fact that his dad has been killed at the war front, at the front line, the fact that the president has been killed by the militant forces, it means those militant forces are pretty strong. So this new president, Mahamat Deby, has to be careful, it seems like. It's not going to be easy for him, because the fact that these people were able to kill the president, they are strong. Now, there's a lesson to learn here. The president of the Republic of Congo had promised people of the eastern part of Congo, where there have been insecurity, war, killings, massacres, every day. He promised them to go and stay over there to assure that he restores peace. Now, with this that has happened in Chad, the question is it a good idea for our president to go and live over there? Because we don't want a president who's going to go and die, because his death is not going to fix the problem. His death will just make things worse. So do we really want the president to go over there? That is a good question. I believe it's probably not a good idea for the president to go on the east side of Congo where there have been wars, because he can be attacked at any time, at any moment, to be destroyed, because seeing how much effort he's putting in to restore peace, it will be an opportunity for those bad guys that he's nearby to destroy him. I hope they take good measures and rethink about his promises and think about other alternatives. So, ladies and gents, that's the end. May God be with us. May God protect us. And we are still together.